Welcome back to our channel, where we explore the fascinating world of AI-generated stories. Today's story is a spine-tingling tale about a noise in the attic, and it's sure to keep you on the edge of your seat. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into the story. It had been a long day for Sarah. She had just moved into her new house, and the unpacking had taken all day. She was tired, and all she wanted was a good night's sleep. But as she lay in bed that night, she heard a soft scratching sound coming from somewhere above. At first, she tried to ignore it. It was probably just a branch tapping against the roof, or a loose tile rattling in the wind. But as the minutes ticked by, the noise grew louder and more insistent. It was like something was crawling around up there, digging and scratching at the ceiling. Sarah tried to convince herself that it was nothing. Maybe it was just a stray animal, or a tree branch that had fallen onto the roof. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true. There was something up there, something that shouldn't be. Finally, unable to take it any longer, Sarah decided to investigate. She grabbed a flashlight and climbed the ladder to the attic. As she pushed open the hatch, she felt a rush of cold air hit her face. The scratching sound grew louder, more frenzied, and then she saw it. A pair of glowing eyes, shining in the darkness. Sarah's heart raced as she realized what she was looking at. It was a rat, massive in size, its sharp teeth glinting in the light of her flashlight. The creature stared at her for a moment, and then lunged forward, its claws scrabbling against the wooden beams of the attic. Sarah screamed and stumbled backwards, her flashlight falling to the ground. She scrambled down the ladder as fast as she could, not stopping until she was safely outside. She took a few deep breaths, trying to calm herself down. But as she looked back up at the house, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The attic window was open, and the rat was gone. Sarah knew she couldn't sleep in the house that night. She decided to drive to a nearby hotel and stay there until she could figure out what to do next. The next day, Sarah called an exterminator. When the man arrived, he took one look at the house and nodded grimly. "You've got a problem," he said. He explained that the house was infested with rats, and that they had probably been living there for years. He showed Sarah the evidence: chewed wires, gnawed beams, and piles of droppings. It was going to be a big job, he said. They would need to seal up all the entry points, set traps, and clean out the attic. It would take at least a week. Sarah agreed to the job, and the exterminator got to work. But even as the rats were being eradicated, Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Every night, she heard strange noises, scurrying sounds, scratching, and the occasional squeak. She tried to ignore it, but it was always there, lurking in the back of her mind. Then, one night, she woke up to find something in her bed. It was small and furry, and it scurried away as soon as she moved. But Sarah knew what it was: a rat. She screamed and threw the covers off the bed. She searched the room, but there was no sign of the rat. She couldn't sleep for the rest of the night, and the next day she decided to move out of the house permanently. As she packed her things, she couldn't help but feel like something was watching her. She kept hearing strange noises, and she was sure that the rats were still there, even though the exterminator had supposedly gotten rid of them all. When she finally left the house, she felt relieved, but that relief was short-lived. Over the next few weeks, strange things started happening. Her phone would ring, but when she answered, there was only silence on the other end. She would receive strange packages in the mail with no return address, and she kept hearing scratching sounds no matter where she went. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that the rats had followed her. She knew it sounded crazy, but she couldn't explain the strange occurrences any other way. Finally, she decided to do something about it. She hired a private investigator to look into the matter. The investigator found nothing at first, but after a few weeks, he called Sarah with some disturbing news. He had followed a suspect to a nearby storage unit, and inside he had found evidence of a rat breeding operation. Dozens of rats, all in cages, all being bred for some unknown purpose. Sarah was horrified. She knew that the rats had been living in her house for years, but she had never imagined that it was part of a larger operation. She asked the investigator to find out more, but he couldn't uncover anything else. From that day forward, Sarah was plagued by nightmares. She dreamed of rats, of their glowing eyes and sharp teeth. She dreamed of the scratching sounds, of the feeling that something was watching her. She tried to move on with her life, but she couldn't escape the memory of the rats. Even now, years later, she still hears scratching sounds in the middle of the night, and she can't help but wonder if the rats are still out there, somewhere, waiting to make their move. But then, one night, Sarah heard a noise that was unlike any she had ever heard before. It was a deep, guttural growl coming from somewhere in the house. It was so loud that it shook the walls, and Sarah could feel it in her bones. She got out of bed and followed the sound, her heart racing. She traced it to the attic, where she found the source of the noise. It wasn't a rat. It was something much, much worse. It was a demon. The demon was massive, with horns and glowing red eyes. It growled at her, baring its teeth in a sinister grin. Sarah stumbled backwards, unable to believe what she was seeing. She knew she had to get out of the house, and fast. She ran to the front door, but it was locked. She tried the windows, but they wouldn't budge. And then she heard the demon's footsteps, getting closer and closer. She could feel its breath on the back of her neck, and she knew that it was going to get her. But then, something strange happened. The demon stopped. It looked up, as if it had heard something. And then it disappeared, as if it had never been there in the first place. Sarah didn't know what had happened. All she knew was that she had to get out of the house, and fast. She ran to her car and drove away, not stopping until she was miles away. Over the next few days, Sarah tried to make sense of what had happened. She went to a priest, who told her that she had been mocked by the demon, that it would follow her wherever she went. Sarah was terrified. She didn't know how to protect herself from the demon, or what it wanted from her. She tried to find information about demons and how to banish them, but nothing seemed to work. As the weeks went by, Sarah started to notice more strange occurrences. Things would move around her house without explanation, and she would hear strange whispers in the middle of the night. She even saw glimpses of the demon, lurking in the shadows. One night, Sarah woke up to find the demon standing at the foot of her bed. It grinned at her, its eyes glowing in the darkness. Sarah screamed and tried to run, but the demon grabbed her and pulled her back. It whispered in her ear, promising to spare her life if she would do its bidding. Sarah was terrified, but she knew she had no choice. She agreed to the demon's demands, and it released her. From that day forward, Sarah did everything the demon asked. She performed strange rituals, made offerings to dark forces, and even hurt innocent people to please the demon. She knew it was wrong, but she was too scared to do anything else. Years went by, and Sarah became more and more isolated. She lost touch with her family and friends, and she stopped caring about anything other than the demon's demands. She lived in constant fear of the demon's wrath, and she knew that one wrong move could mean her death. But then, one day, something strange happened. Sarah was performing a ritual for the demon when she heard a voice in her head. It was a soft, gentle voice, and it told her that she didn't have to live like this. Sarah was confused. She had never heard a voice like this before, and she didn't know what to make of it. But the voice persisted, telling her that she was stronger than the demon, that she could break free from its grasp. Slowly but surely, Sarah started to resist the demon's demands. She stopped performing the rituals, and she started to question its authority. At first, the demon was furious. It threatened to kill her, to make her suffer for her disobedience. But Sarah didn't back down. She knew that she had to break free from the demon's control, no matter what the cost. In the end, it was a long and difficult process. It took years of therapy, medication, and support from loved ones. But eventually, Sarah was able to break free from the demon's hold. She banished it from her life, and she started to rebuild the relationships she had lost. Today, Sarah is happy and healthy. She still hears scratching sounds in the middle of the night, but she knows that it's just her mind playing tricks on her. She's grateful for the voice that saved her life, and she's determined to help others who are struggling with similar issues. And there you have it, folks, a chilling tale of the unknown, all thanks to the power of AI-generated storytelling. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more. Until next time, I'm your host, and I'll see you on the next episode.